You are watching CIOTV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Info Media.
Hello and welcome to CIOTV.live, and a production of Accent Info Media and a sister concern of Enterprise IT World and Enterprise IT World Media. Today we have a special guest with us. His name is Mr. Ram Narayanan. He is Area Manager for GCC in Checkpoint Software to answer some of our questions. Welcome, Ram, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Sanjay. Really appreciate the opportunity to connect with your enterprise leaders, and it's a great opportunity and really appreciate it.
So, before I start your questions about Checkpoint, let us understand from you about your perspective on the market scenario specifically to cybersecurity landscape in this region.
Sure, it perfectly starts off well, because if we can understand what challenges the senior leaders are facing on the enterprise level, it will be easy for us to address what kind of solutions we need to put together. So for a moment, I would like to take you in seeing from what is happening from a CISO's perspective, from an enterprise point of view. Their current position when they call themselves as CISO from what they used to do has drastically changed, and I would say it has evolved, and it is no more, I would say, a technical or a mid-management level position where they're doing certain things in isolation from what the business would need. Today, I see them as a multidimensional, holding a very high senior leadership position, discussing about what kind of decisions that would needs to be made on securing their assets in terms of governance aspect, as well as providing the leadership to the board when it comes to all this, because cybersecurity today is a board level conversation and it's no more technical. Even though there are a lot of technology stack in it, there is a requirement for somebody to take the technology aspect and translate it into a business language so that the board understands. And I think this is a very big role that CISOs are playing today. So this is one aspect. The second aspect, if you see from a CISO's perspective of the challenges, is not coming from within, it is coming from the outside in terms of the cyber landscape that they are dealing with. When I'm saying cyber security landscape that they're dealing with, the statistics shows the cyber attacks globally has increased 50% year over year, and coming to this region, and probably I can take the UAE as an example, the cyber attacks have grown 71% year over year. That's how do you say, a considerable rise in terms of cyber attacks, and you can understand why CISOs and the top level people are concerned about. On the contrary, if you dive into the details of it, with our research indicates every organization or organizations on an average on a weekly basis are targeted 900 times in this region, and you can see how much of technology stack they need to do to kind of prevent themselves. So I think this is kind of gives you the picture as to what a CISO is dealing with from internal, external factors and how their role has changed. But coming to your direct questions, if I have to put some specific attributes to the challenges that they are facing, obviously with the digital transformation initiative being accelerated with the pandemic and the need for business to be, or IT to be agile to support the business needs, obviously digital transformation and security around that is of paramount concern, challenge which CISOs are facing. The second, if you see, is about the skills of their own team. You cannot ignore that. On one side technology is important, on the other side skills is also equally important. So when looking at the skills, upskilling their own people to cater to the needs and the kind of needs that today's landscape requires. It's not about what they know in the past, how they are able to adapt and reskill themselves to the needs of the future is another second aspect which I would see. The third is the technology stack. Obviously, billions of dollars have been invested on the technology stack. Even after those investments, you see a lot of headlines with so much of cyber attacks and so many companies being a target. So why is that? It's not about just the investment, everything has to come together. So this is where CISOs, talking to them on a regular basis now, especially with all what has happened, they're looking at consolidation, they're looking at a complete visibility, and how to make it much more integrated with the business function so that everything works together. Security is no more seen as a hurdle for the business, but it has now changed or transformed itself into a business enabler so that the business can run in a much more secure fashion. So I believe this is how CISO sees it. So when we are talking about challenges, obviously we understand it, and then we come up with solutions to address those challenges.
From Checkpoint perspective, what are the solutions you have that you are going to mitigate the challenges of the CISOs?
See, as I said, when we said today CISO's challenge is to be a business enabler, so now technology has to be there. Without technology, you cannot get that job done. What we're doing with the help of our Infinity architecture, which is nothing like a product, it is overall architecture, so that they can cover all these aspects, like you said, when it comes to the network security, the user access, and the cloud aspect as well. So with Infinity, what we are going to the CISOs and the CIOs is that, look, today you need to look at a broader architecture. You need to cover all aspects of security when it comes, because today large enterprises are running hybrid environments. So they still have to secure the data center that they used to run, maybe a scaled down version of the data center, and then they are looking at the cloud aspect as well. So it's not that one or the other, it's a combination. They need to still secure what they used to have and then secure what is coming in the future in terms of cloud. So this is where Checkpoint plays the role. So with our Infinity architecture, what we are doing is that we are bringing in that consolidation into the picture so that a CIO or a CISO can have a 360-degree view of what is going on with the help of what they can implement from the technology stack. Point number one. Point number two is the way that we are offering it to our enterprise customers. So we build three pillars. One, we call it as Quantum, which is primarily addressing the network security aspect, the next generation firewall, threat prevention, the sandboxing needs of an enterprise, which we are addressing it as part of Quantum. And this is where we are even extending further with the hyperscale architecture, because people today are used to cloud and they want to pay as they want to consume. And security also has to be in that aspect seen. So this is where we are bringing in our hyperscale solutions to enterprises. Even when they are on-prem, we are not asking them to invest upfront. Rather, for CISOs and CIOs, today they have a particular need with a very big expansion plan in the next 3 to 5 years. They can use our hyperscale architecture, and that can help them to scale out as and when they need without rip and replacement of the investment that they have made. Second is Harmony, which specifically addresses the users as well as the access aspect, with the work from home, with mobile devices being used to do normal business and endpoints being connecting from home. So you need to have a larger perspective as to address all of this. So this is where the zero trust network access, the SASE model of engagement, and then the need to protect all devices, whether it is managed or unmanaged. Still those devices become the entry point to corporate resources. So we need to have a holistic approach to that. So this is where we have Harmony suite of solution, which takes care of the endpoint security aspect. It addresses the mobile threat aspect. It addresses the email and collaboration tools, so to say, on a broader scale, as well as protecting users when they are accessing internet from home from unmanaged devices. So all of those is being addressed as part of Harmony. And the last or the third pillar, I would say, is the Cloud Guard, which is our complete offering on the cloud with the digital transformation and the cloud security, starting from protecting the workloads on any of the public cloud platform, be it on Microsoft Azure, or AWS, or Google, or any other public cloud platform. So they are putting workloads. So we need to protect as a start. They had a firewall to protect their physical data center. They need to have something similar to protect what is there on the cloud. But it doesn't stop from that. It has a lot more, because this is where cloud native security and those concepts comes into picture, because you need to be as compliant as you were before, and you need to meet all those regulations which you were compliant to, be it PCI or regulation or HIPAA if customers are in that domain, or any of the other regulations that they need to do. And this is where we do have the whole posture management, even when they're going to the cloud, giving them the visibility, being compliant with those regulations. And then with today's scale and speed, which is the benefit of being on the cloud, you need to be agile. So this is where you need to know how to integrate security at the time of code development itself. So this is where we are talking about shift left security, or people looking at containerization and then looking at containers, Kubernetes kind of scenario, how to embed security in those conversations. So cloud itself is a big thing, and there are a lot of things that needs to be taken care of, right from protecting the workloads, understanding the posture of the assets itself, protecting those applications which are being hosted on the cloud. It needs to be dynamic. Anybody can bring up a web application. You need to have technologies in place which will understand, learn, and protect those applications, rather than having some kind of a manual configuration which needs to be changed, because cloud is all about dynamicity and scalability, fast and speed, and security also has to evolve. So this is how I would say we are trying to address, from network security, endpoint and user aspect, as well as on the cloud, with the overarching Infinity architecture, which gives the consolidation and the operational efficiency. And one last thing that I would like to highlight, how we have even taken one step further in terms of what we talked about as a challenge for CISOs. At the end of the day, even though they understand it is important, there is finite resources that they have to get the same job done. Some can be tactical, some can be strategic. So when it comes to those strategic initiatives, every time going and looking for a budget or what it would need to be is a challenge. Today, at the end of the day, even though you need to do so many things, on one side budgets are also being scaled down. So this is where our Infinity Enterprise Licensing Agreement can help CISOs, because there what we are doing is we are kind of bringing it out in a way it can be per user per year model, and then they don't have to worry about whether it covers the network part, the endpoint, or the cloud. So they pay per user per year, and then we take care of all the security needs of an enterprise. So it's very predictable from a spend perspective. So if they know they have X number of users, they know what is the per user cost per year, and all their security needs are addressed. So it's something which we see a lot of large enterprises are subscribing to this model, because they don't have to go and get approvals for individual budgets every time they think of that they need something to protect their mobile devices, protect their endpoints, or upgrade their solutions, or a tech refresh, whatever.
You are in very competitive market where you are heading on with many organizations who are either competing with you or complementing with you. So what are your real challenges, and what are your competitive advantages in this market?
So definitely, as you rightly said, see, we as Checkpoint, as well as on a broader security ecosystem, we cannot be isolated and say we stand alone. It is about being part of the ecosystem, because everything works together. So obviously we are big enablers, and if you see Checkpoints from back in the days, we have been open to integrations and work with other technologies, so that the collective outcome would be much better than what individually you can do. So this is definitely one thing. Now, in terms of challenges for us, Checkpoint in the market, I would see it in slightly a different perspective. Our reach to the market, because we do have a fantastic technology stack. We have a complete overview of what an enterprise would need. It's all about taking this message to as many CISOs or as many CIOs who are looking for these kind of solutions. It's about educating, it's about getting to them and conveying this message is what we see, because as you said, this region is diverse. We do have different spending patterns, different level of maturity in terms of how they view the whole security in going about it. But what I must say is that the security awareness has gone way high from what it used to be before, because of what is happening around. And this is where our only challenge is to get the message to the top level decision makers. And then it's not about only Checkpoint, it is about our channel ecosystem or the channel partner ecosystem to speak the same language, and then skilling what we talked about as a challenge for enterprise IT to skill their people and having the right level of knowledge. We might have a fantastic technology product, but unless somebody knows how to make it work and how to configure it for the needs of the customer, then it doesn't bring that value. So even our channel ecosystem needs to go through that educational cycle and upskill themselves. So this, I believe, is a continuous process. I wouldn't say it as a challenge, but it is just that it's a continuous process and things are changing so dynamically. It's a continuous effort that we are putting in together to get the messaging to the market as well as to our channel ecosystem.
Perception about Checkpoint is that Checkpoint is pretty costly, pricey also. How would you defend this?
If you're coming out with a quality product, obviously it comes at a price. So it's sometimes, worth the money that you spend to protect yourself, because security is no joke in today's context, because one incident can bring your reputation or the organization down, and obviously it's being looked upon differently when you have that incident. So I think it's today people realize that it is worth spending that money. I'm not saying that you need to throw money at everything. It is all about doing the right investment to get the right value. And I believe if somebody would say Checkpoint is costly, it's not the case. I would put it in a different way. Of course, it comes at a price, but then it gives you that value also. If you do the value versus the price comparison, we are up there, and that's something that we pride ourselves on.
The other perception is that Checkpoint is meant for the large organizations, telcos, oil and gas, BFSI, large SCADA projects. What about the SMBs and SMEs? How do you defend that perception, change this perception?
Yeah, definitely it's a perception that Checkpoint is not made for it. As this is, again, as I said, this is one of the challenges to get the message out to the market. Even for the enterprise, for example, in today's context, if you see, they don't have only one data center. If you see a large organization, they will have multiple branch offices. So as a Checkpoint solution, we protect their data center, and their weakest link can become their branch offices. So we need to protect their branch offices. So Checkpoint, what we have been doing for years is that whatever security or the level of capabilities that we have on the enterprise level, we have it exactly on for the branch offices also. For the enterprise, it was within the context. This is where we said you can manage it centrally. You have the same level of security what you have on the data center on the branch offices. To address your question on SME and SMB, it's a key growth area for us. We do have solutions to the smaller form factor in terms of hardware, which we will cater to the SMB and SME business. I want to highlight one thing, how we do it. So when we are talking about SMB, the holistic picture goes away. People buy a small appliance and put it in the branch offices and do it. What Checkpoint did, today we are working with telcos, working with those service providers. We understand the needs. It's not about putting a small appliance in the office and do it. Take, for example, a doctor or a lawyer firm who are having like 5 to 10 employee strength, and they are not technology savvy. Their focus is on doing something else. So this is where we go to those kind of businesses that say, we will give you a dashboard, we will give you a package where it will protect your internet connectivity on that office. We protect your emails, we protect your endpoints, be it mobile or whatever devices that they use, and then we package it as a security package for them. So they don't have to worry about, they are not technology savvy to understand, I need to do something on my endpoints, I need to protect my mobile, how do I protect my Office 365 email that I have? It's not their concern, or it's not their area of forte. So this is where we are packaging it as a holistic solution for those SMEs, and this is what, so to answer your question, we do have a big play on the SME as well as SMB space, and this is one of the biggest growth engine for Checkpoint at this point in time. As you traditionally saw, we are very strong in BFSI, we are very strong in big public sector, defense organizations, oil and gas, big holding companies, retail organizations. These are all the strong forte. Of course, we continue to enhance their security capabilities, not only from the network side, but on the other aspects. But then we do also have a SME play.
There are also challenges from the CISO side when they go and sign up with any vendor. The first and foremost is the after sale service, and the other one is the renewal time. What is your take on this?
I would go back and reflect the points that I said. Obviously, customer experience is something that we value and we continually strive to improve. That means it's about, while going through the process of making the decision of buying a certain technology, and then after they purchase the technology, their journey in terms of post sales and support and keeping them up to date, right? So from a pre-sales perspective, before sale, we are directly invested in the region as local sales and pre-sales team, and we have exponentially grown in the last few years because of the business growth that we have seen, especially across GCC. We do have people in country in each of the GCC countries, starting from UAE. Obviously, we do have our office here in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Qatar, in Saudi, and especially just to highlight, in 2022 we made a big investment push in Saudi because of the kingdom focusing on cyber security and the kind of emphasis that they're putting on business transformation and the 2030 plan that they have, Vision 2030. So kind of that's our direct investment. This is on one side. The second side, directly from Checkpoint, is that we value, as I said, once the technology is in place, it needs to be implemented right. The best practices has to be there for the customers to realize the value. So this is where we have our own boots on the ground, which we call themselves as professional services people. They go and do the implementation for customers, and in more than many cases, we put our professional services team in place to get the implementation done right and review them for best practices. This is the second aspect. Obviously, the third aspect comes is where our channel ecosystem plays and the upskilling that we are doing for our channel ecosystem. At some point in time, we want them to be at the same level as what our internal teams will be doing. And so we are having some specific training and educational programs for our channel partners so that they get certified on our different solutions. Say, for example, the hyperscale architecture that I talked about, where you can scale as and when the needs, it's called as the Maestro technology, which is very unique and a differentiator for Checkpoint, by the way. So we'd offer our partners specialized training on that platform so that when they get a Maestro project or when they're implementing a Maestro for their enterprise, their technical teams are skilled to do that, and we will also be part of those implementations. So this is how, from different dimensions, that we are trying to address. Having said that, everything has to come together, and I wouldn't miss the aspect of skilling our own customers and enhancing their knowledge base itself. And this is where there are a lot of training programs with the help of cyber learning credits that we offer to our customers so that they enhance their skills as well. It's not that the moment you are becoming independent, you can run it much more faster, but then at the same time, I understand that everybody cannot be or focused to that level. So it's a combination of everything. We play our part. We have our channel, or the system integrators play their part, eventually to make it as a solution for the customer. They're not buying individual product, they're buying the solution, and it has integration to other technologies that they might have, which the system integrators play a role. And then finally, skilling the team itself. It's no more, I think it is one of CISO's big agenda to upskill their own people, and they look to us as leading cybersecurity solution providers to have that learning path also covered, and there are many aspects that we cover, and then it's something that we talk about to our customer base.
Okay, you said about the channel partners engagement. What I'm seeing, resources or finding resources or skill set is a big challenge internally for the CISOs and CIOs. What I'm seeing a big role of the MSSPs, how Checkpoint or you personally is taking care of developing the MSSPs within the channel partners.
So right now we do have a lot of focus on MSSP model-driven business, and because that's the future, as we can talk about. If you take, for an example, a very large enterprise, they are on one side of the spectrum, and then let's say SME or a mid-sized organization are somewhere in between compared to the SMB. I'll explain what I mean by that. A large bank will have their own SOC teams, and then they will have the capability in-house, and they can run it. But if you talk about a mid-sized organization, whether they can invest to that level, and then whether they can attract talent who is that much skilled to work for those organizations becomes a challenge. So this is where Checkpoint plays a role, where what we can see is we are bringing in the MSSP model of business and then skilling our MSSP partners so that they become the service organization for the enterprises. And then some of the mid-sized organizations or enterprises, when they have their own SOC or a skeletal SOC as a first level of defense, then they augment with our services like the incident response. For example, managed services means they do the first level. When it needs higher level of expertise, then they fall back on technology vendors like ourselves, and Checkpoint is in a position and to help them and assess. So, for example, a ransomware attack happens, if they are our incident response customers, they can call our hotline and then immediately get understanding of what needs to be done and how exactly to kind of contain and then come out of respond and remediate. So these kind of facilities are there. This we even offer to our MSSPs, because then they become the services organization, and this is what we see the future for system integrators as well, because it's not about the technology that they're going to make the business on, it's about the services that they offer to the clients through which they're going to make their the bottom line. So it is important we enable them and get them the technology that they need as well as the skills that they need, and then the services that they need. Everything can be part of it. So we are having a lot of active engagement with customers where they are saying that, okay, we do have this, can you help us fix this gap in our portfolio of helping our customers on the journey.
All right, if you can give some use case, if there is approval for you, would be really nice in the customers or the projects.
Yeah, obviously, what I would suggest is that I can give you a high level, because I can tell you, let's say in a couple of discussions that we had, customers are implementing this hyperscale architecture. We hear, let's say in UAE, in Saudi, in Kuwait, we do have large banking, retail customers very excited about the solution. Some of the solutions have been implemented, or some of them are getting implemented because they see the value of investing as they need, and then it gives them the scalability to grow. So we do have customers in the BFSI being the strongest for us, using our network security sandboxing solutions. It's for their entire data center branch offices kind of scenario. We do have government, semi-government entities using our email security as part of user and access part of it, as they are transforming into the cloud, using our cloud security aspect. So if you see from all aspects, we cover customers in different verticals, be it holding companies, as I said, or retail organizations, part of big holding companies. They do use our solutions to protect the network as well as the users. So across different business verticals, and one of the other two fast growing verticals for us is healthcare and education. I'm not sure whether to say it as a coincidence or it's the need of the hour. The targeted attacks are more towards education vertical, obviously because of COVID and what happened. The healthcare is also becoming a prime target, and we see a lot of customers signing up for our solutions to protect the different aspects that I said, and we do bringing on board these reference customers. Very shortly, I believe you will start to see our specific use cases with, of course, the approval from the customers to be seen specifically from the region to be a public reference customers. We are working actively on those references. So I hope to share specific names in the next conversation.
What is the goal that you want to achieve by the end of this year from a growth perspective?
What I would say is what we have achieved in the region to what the need to be. I think we have achieved only a small portion of it, and we have a lot more to grow, and this is the opportunity for us, and this is why we are doing our investment, and benchmark or the baseline that we have set ourselves for our business growth based on what we have achieved, and with additional investment, with the growth of our ecosystem, I think we have an ambitious target. I would say in terms of the new customer acquisitions, as well as spreading our wings with our new technologies in terms of on the cloud, on Harmony. I think it's not in small scale because of the potential that we have, and I said we are spread across the region, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, with the World Cup and everything coming. It's all means the targets are high. Obviously, I'm not putting any numbers, but I can definitely say it's a higher double-digit growth that we are expecting, and we are growing in the region on an average, if I can recollect, about 24% year over year. Yeah, with a smaller team, but now with additional investment, I think you can understand. And there is a lot of uptake from customers in the region, especially when they are able to see what Checkpoint can offer, what kind of consolidation that they can do, and it's kind of both ways. So we are, I would say, in a very exciting times. Obviously, it's not about the challenge. The challenge is there, but we have a solution to help customers come out of the challenge. So that from that perspective, it's very exciting.
Thank you, Ram, for being here with us and giving so much of information about the market, about Checkpoint, where it is heading. Thank you very much.